Hey guys, happy Easter. I hope this finds you well and that you're enjoying this weekend of reflecting about Jesus' death and even more importantly his resurrection back from the dead. I hope that you're able to celebrate that with your family and that you're able to reflect on that story together as a family. I'm Ian.
I'm David.
And we're into our second episode of our Q&A series. Thank you so much for those of you who've been sending in questions. Please keep them coming. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about money, but then also this story from the Bible where Jesus curses a fig tree. We're going to look into why does that happen. But to begin with, we're going to be talking a little bit about money and a question which is more generally just about our youth group. And that question is, why is so much money from tithes put back into the church if the mission of God is to reach the world in need? Isn't our church something that should get less than what we put into missions? And then they add Matthew 28:19 to 20, which says,
Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age.
Yeah, so what do you think, David? Why is so much of our money from tithes put back into the church if we're called to go and make disciples?
I think this is a very good question, and it's good that you're asking these types of questions. One thing I would say is that the reason why money is put back into the church is because we, as a church, it's our mission to be equipped to be going out and making disciples. So the reason why so much energy and time and resources are put into the church is so that the church can train us and can equip us and can build us up in our faith and in our knowledge of God so that we can be the ones who go out and do the mission that you mentioned. Because I think you mentioned, shouldn't the church basically get less than what we put into missions? But actually we as a church, we are a mission organization in and of ourselves. So we, as a church, we want to be investing in our own people so that the people can go out into their communities, into their families, into their workplaces, and spreading the gospel.
Yeah, and there's a word that's commonly used for that, or phrase, which is we want to make disciple-making disciples, if that makes sense. So all of our ministries at church, which is, I guess, where the majority of our money goes into, all of them, it's all about making and growing disciples. So we kind of make disciples, people come along, they become Christian, they get involved, and then they're trained up in order that they may go out and also make disciples, that they may bring people to church, that they may have those conversations about Christianity. That's kind of what we're all about. But we do a lot of mission stuff too. We have an entire missions ministry which does a whole lot of great work. And we do put a lot of money into supporting our overseas and local mission partners. That's how I would respond to that.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more thing, and because I think there are things in the church that take up a lot of money, but again, whatever we put into the church is so that it goes into ministry. So yeah, it's just all an investment for the kingdom.
Yeah. And our next question is on a similar note from the same person. Do you want to read that up, David?
Why did God curse the fig tree? Did it do something wrong?
That's not the right question, David.
Oh, is it?
Do you want to try again?
Where is it? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Why do we have a separate offering for the home of the 100th sheep? Shouldn't there be one offering for all the works of God?
So this is a really interesting question. I guess some of this misunderstanding maybe is from my fault, from what I've been saying from the front. We do support Home of the 100th Sheep, and we do partner with them quite closely, particularly with our youth mission trip, which unfortunately hasn't been able to happen for the last year. But in terms of the offering that we collect every Sunday at Stand Youth, it doesn't actually go directly anymore to Home of the 100th Sheep. When I first began here at St Andrews, maybe just over a year ago, it did go into a fund which was particularly for our mission trip to visit them and to support them. But as of, I'm going to say maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I made the decision to now change that. And all of the money that we collect on a Sunday, it goes into, I guess, the general offering, which is the same as anybody who gives church, who gives money to church on a Sunday. It goes towards everything that we do at St Andrews, all of our different ministries and supports and mission works, and into all of our community outreaches and everything like that. So it's not specifically for Home of the 100th Sheep, but on the second half of your question, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving particularly towards one ministry or one reason. I think in the Bible we see Paul, he collects money from churches around Asia Minor, all specifically for the church in Jerusalem, which is really struggling. He seems to be collecting money for one particular reason or one particular group. But I think there's also some benefits in giving specifically to organizations or specific missions, is that it can help us in a way as well, because we have a better idea of where our money is going and how it's actually affecting the world and how it's helping people. And that can give us this stronger sense of partnership, that our money is being used well, that it's being used for these specific things, and that can actually encourage us many times to give even more or to give even in other places. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I don't have much more to say, but I think it really makes a difference when you know who you're giving to. I think you know who you're giving to when you're giving to the church, like you're giving for the ministry and whatnot. But when you have the opportunity to give to a specific ministry, that does there's a difference with your heart when you give that money. And I think we tend to be more generous sometimes when we know we're giving to a specific cause. So yeah, I think there's no problem.
And then our last question for today is kind of a two-parter, two questions. But first one is, why did God curse the fig tree? Did it do something wrong? And then the follow one from that was, who created Saturn? But let's start with the fig tree. Do you want to read the passage out for us, David?
Should I read the whole thing or just some?
Just the.
Okay, I'll read some key parts. So it's Mark chapter 11, verse 12. 12 to... Yeah, I'll just read some. So, verse 12. The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard him say it. And then Jesus goes to the temple courts and clears the temple courts. And then we get to verse 20. And then in the morning, as they went along... Oh wait, let me read 19 first. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered." "Have faith in God," Jesus answered. "Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, 'Go throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins." Yeah, should I?
Yeah, go for it.
This question had me thinking a little bit, because I think there are two ways, there are two lessons that we can get from this. But let me just quickly address the second part of your question, which is, did it do something wrong? I'm not sure if you feel that, it was kind of harsh of Jesus to curse the fig tree. I would say you don't need to feel sorry for the fig tree, because God gave us trees and different plants for us to use in for different things. We use trees to make toilet paper, and we use trees to make ornaments and stuff. So yeah, God has given us these good things. But refocusing back on the main meaning of this passage, I think there are two things that we can learn from this. One is about faith and prayer. I think me and Ian was discussing about this. We couldn't, like, it kind of seems strange. Why did Jesus, who is God, why did he talk about faith and prayer? But I think he did want to show the disciples that, like he mentioned, he used the imagery of casting a mountain into the sea. And I think he doesn't mean that, okay, if you want to test your powers of prayer, pray that you can cast Time Ocean into the sea. He's not saying you should do that, but he's rather using this imagery to show us that we should have faith in our prayer when we pray to God, and we should be expecting a response from God. But just to make sure you don't get the wrong image about prayer, like, although God is saying we should have lots of faith and we should really believe in God to answer prayer, it should be said that it doesn't mean we can ask for whatever we want when we pray. Like God's not gonna necessarily answer me if I ask for a BMW, or He's not gonna answer you if you ask for a new Nintendo Switch. Like, God wants us to pray things in accordance with His will, according to His desires, and He wants us to ask for these good things with faith. And I think that's the main point of not the main point, but like one of the points that He wants us to learn in this passage. And I think there's another like thing we can learn, which is about spiritual fruit. Which, do you want to start on that?
Yeah. So I guess this is the main symbol of why he curses the fig tree, which is what the question is about. So in between those two sections that David read about the fig tree, there's a small story of Jesus going into Jerusalem, going into the temple, and seeing all of these people just selling animals and selling trinkets and selling this whatever, and he just gets really mad, and he drives them out of the temple court, this place which is supposed to be holy but has been taken over by these thieves, almost, is what Jesus calls them. And this fig tree is in some way supposed to represent Jerusalem and the temple. See, this fig tree, it looks good from the outside, like Jerusalem does. It looks holy, like Jerusalem should be, but when Jesus gets close, it hasn't produced any fruit. Even though it looks like it's alive, it's dead. And I think that's the same way with how Jesus feels about Jerusalem and the people there, is that even though they look like they're alive, they're spiritually dead. They aren't recognizing God for who He is, and they're not worshipping Him as He deserves. Instead, they're defiling the very most holy place that they should be honoring. And so I think in that there's also a lesson for us to be fruitful, to not be like this fig tree which looks healthy on the outside. We can look healthy on the outside in our actions and in what we're doing, but I think what's really important is to be spiritually healthy. And I think that links in a little bit to what David was talking about earlier. That's an example of what it looks like to be spiritually healthy. To be producing fruit is to be strong in faith and strong in prayer. We can pray for these really big things. I think we have confidence to come before God and pray for like amazing, incredible things. And I think that's such a joy, and that's something that we should also learn from that. Did you have anything to add, David?
No. That's really good.
And then to answer the final part of this person's question, which is who created Saturn? God. God created Saturn. As He created all of creation before time, He set it all in motion, put His plan in place, and created everything.
If there's something more behind this question, please do send another one. Yeah, I'm interested to know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you for watching us until the end. Please keep on sending in your questions, or if you didn't understand anything that we said, please make sure to ask that, or ask the people around you. Also, continue following us on YouTube and Instagram, because we're going to keep on doing this. But yeah, we hope that you guys are safe in this time. We hope that you are well. We hope that you guys have a happy Easter. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Did I mess up? I feel like I said something.